Man, these things are slow though. When I put this in third gear, I was like, wow, that's it. But you got to remember, you know, this was made in 1929. They can't expect a lot from it. Yeah, she's running and driving on her own power. I mean, no duh, but it's a pretty good feeling when you can take something that was destined for the scrapyard and make it run and drive. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Here we got the McCormick 1020, and the ladybugs are out, / Asian beetles. So, anyways, I haven't really worked on this thing too much just because I got the shop going and whatnot, but I thought I'd give it a little justice today. I just, for the first time, want to drive it around the yard a bit. I've only driven around the yard for a little bit, and I thought, well, we might as well just get a little drive in before I start working on the shop, because I've been go in that shop, but I haven't been too much mechanical stuff, and I'd like to play with my toys a little bit here. So one update on this thing. I have ran it. I filled up the cooling system, and there's multiple holes in the radiator. Big surprise. I'm not that worried about it because we won't be running it that long. But also the fan belt has blown off as well. Not a big deal as well. And you can actually still get them new, I found out. So that's pretty cool. But the big thing that we're doing today on this is I'm actually going to try and use the fuel tank. I'm cross between using the kerosene tank or the gasoline tank. I think I'm going to go ahead and use the actual kerosene tank versus using my dinky little bicycle motorbike pump here. This doesn't let it run that long, and as soon as it doesn't provide a lot of head pressure, and it'll starve the car within minutes. So I'd like to dump at least 5 gallons into this tank. Hopefully this will be high enough to provide some head pressure. The only thing I'm worried about is the sediment bowl. If we have a gander underneath here, here's our sediment bowl, and it looks like there's a chip in it. I don't know if that's originally from me or if it was already like that, but I put it on there. I took it off a while back. I put a new quart gasket in, but you guys know how these bowls are. They never like to seal, so we'll give it a shot here, but honestly I have my doubts, and worst case scenario, all we got to do is just run the bicycle fuel tank again. I remember this being pretty taut, but it did flow liquid through it. And yes, that tank's rusty, but honestly I've had pretty good luck with using rusty fuel tanks. So just for putzing around the yard here, I don't think we'll have issues, but I don't know, maybe watch me eat my words here. Time to dump gas on everything but the tractor. I'm not seeing anything come out of the petcock yet, so either we got too little fuel in there, there's probably only 3 gallons in here, or that petcock is completely plugged solid. I did not want to get gasoline all over myself today. Well, I'm going to err on the edge that it's completely plugged solid, because I looked on the top there, and yeah, she's definitely over the petcock, but we don't really got much going on, and I completely forgot to drain any moisture out of that tank too. Not that... okay, that isn't a one-handed job, but not that I'm super worried about it, but great. Oh, I actually found everything. Awesome. And it didn't crack the sediment bowl. I think we got lady luck on our side today. So all that we're gonna do here is open this all the way up. Oh, halfway up. And then we're just gonna find the nearest small object that identifies as a pokolator. I'd reckon this will be a good pokolator. And we're just gonna shove it up on there and see if we can't just get gasoline everywhere. Oh, and like that, there we go. So again, the problem is I think there was a lot of moisture on the bottom there. Ooh, yeah, and there was. So I'm just gonna let this kind of drain for a second, clean that junk out. And I think it'll be good enough for this tractor. I mean, it runs with a compression of 4-to-1, so it's not like it's a race car or anything. I think I'll run it. You see now, regularly I wouldn't want to just cut the end of this off, but I'm gonna have to slide this hose on. But I don't feel that bad about it anyways, because right where that flare is, it's ripped, and we might put the fuel dripper back on it someday, so I kind of like the length it was at, so it's just all plug and play, but it's going to need to be modified anyway, so I don't feel that bad about it. So I'll just cut that off here with the hand angle grinder. Now we're back in business. And I think I got enough hose here I could just kind of wrap it around. Unfortunately, there's going to be a little bit of a kink at the bottom, so I worry that... Ooh, that's hot. Don't got welder's fingers quite yet. So I worry that it might get trapped and not let fuel kind of go up, so I'm trying to overpower that with head pressure here, but I guess we're just going to see what happens. Sure, that should work. I made sure to route it away from the intake and the exhaust manifold. Oh no, let's just see how many leaks we got. Truthfully, I don't have much faith in this quart gasket. I think it's going to leak around that bowl anyways, but we can always just grab one from the H. Yeah, it's leaking. Pity, pity. Well, I think I fixed the problem. I removed the screen. These screens almost always leak. I probably never put them in right, but they almost always make a leak because they never quite seal properly. And also, unfortunately, I dropped the spacer for the sediment bowl into the abyss of the clutch and flywheel area. So there's that, but I did put this new spacer in, which is just like a random little wooden dowel I had, and now it's dripping a lot slower. So that's telling me we actually have a good vacuum seal on there. So that's pretty sweet. The carburetor should be full of fuel because it, well, just had a fuel tank on it. So yeah, another modification I made on this is it didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to because I kind of just half put it on because I was in a rush, but I did put a choke cable on it, but I more so just kind of positioned the choke cable like this more than actual pull on it. And I did remove the accelerator pump linkage on it as well because, well, it just doesn't make sense. Tractors don't really have accelerator pumps, so whenever I try and give her a little throttle here, it would just kill it, and you can guess why, but it's still nice because I can press down on it and prime it for when I want to start the tractor. So yeah, there's that. I think now we're good to start this thing. And some of you guys are probably wondering why I don't have the valve cover on it. Well, the reason I don't have it on it at the moment is one of these guys, the threads are stripped out on it, so whenever you put the valve cover on, it doesn't twist all the way down, and I think these are actually affect the compression of the engine. I could be wrong, but it's just easier for me to operate it with it off. I will find a way to get it on at a later time. Also, this quart gasket stretched, so it doesn't really like to sit in there, but oh well, it is what it is. So let's start lubricating these rocker arms up and get her prepped while I get the tiniest bit more fuel dumped in her. Now I've actually gotten this thing running and driving pretty good where it'll sit and idle until it runs out of gas. I don't like to run it super long because, like I said, well, our fan exploded on us, our fan belt. That's not a huge deal, but the big problem that I have with this thing now is when you press in the clutch, it doesn't really do clutch things. It'll actually stay in gear. I was going to lubricate the throwout bearing a little bit more. I've done that already, but unfortunately I'm out of grease, so I'll have to load some grease later and do it, but I think I'll be fine because I just want to drive it around the yard here. I've driven it around the driveway, but like I said, I don't really drive it for long periods of time because of that tiny fuel tank, and as soon as you get at any angle, it stops putting head pressure, and it'll just starve itself of fuel. I mean, that's what happens when you have a 4.6 liter four-cylinder that was made in the 20s and probably designed before that. But yeah, so getting a little bit of oil down these rocker arms here too. Not the rocker arms, the push rods. I just want to make sure there's a lot of oil in that camshaft. Every time I've driven this and whatnot and run it, I pop the bottom off and I inspect the bottom end, and the bottom end's totally fine. So nothing's gotten loose. It's actually starting to polish things up a little bit. It's starting to look pretty clean. And my objective with this, the reason why I want to get it running, is I want to get a few more heat cycles through it before I drop the oil to really help break up any loose grime and junk. This is a detergent oil. You know, that might be controversial to some folks. I really don't care. This oil filter is functional. I have seen oil flow through it and whatnot, so that's pretty awesome. So we do have oil filtration. I know back then oil filtration is more of a suggestion than actual oil filtration, but it's better than nothing. But yeah, and another thing I'll do is I'll probably dump some water in it. Again, I just dump hard water, groundwater in it. I know it's not the smartest thing to do, but let's be honest. That's probably what dudes were doing 100 years ago. It is what it is. You know, it'll just, like, if there's any cracks on the cylinder walls, it'll help seal them up. You know, we'll look at it like that, you know. Calcium's really good to aid in engine compression and sealing and whatnot. Sure. Now, my biggest concern here, I kind of take back what I said with some of the moisture in the fuel tank, and as we know, water doesn't really burn. But when it was dumping out there, it smelled pretty gassy or gas-like, so I think it'll burn, but we'll see. But this thing idles like a 20s tractor should. It's a choppy idle, but it idles. I know some of my valve lash isn't perfect when I originally set the valve lash on this. Some of the adjustments were maxed out and some weren't, but it should be enough to make it run. Make sure we're in neutral. Turn off the impulse coupler. Now this is like a whole starting procedure. Move stuff over so I don't run it over. Now I'm just gonna manually hand pump the accelerator pump a couple times. Just 2 pumps. Alright, I have my choke closed. Gonna double check, make sure we're grounded out there. That we are. Suck some fuel in. I like to do 3. Alrighty. Then I'll put that about 0 degrees before top dead center. Double check everything. Alright, hopefully there's enough head pressure there to supply the carburetor with fuel. Let's get it. And she'll fight us initially at the beginning, but remember, before it would never run to begin with. Just do 1 pump of fuel that time. Magneto's grounded out. Pour a little bit more fuel in those cylinders. Right at top dead center. Unfortunately, I don't think we're having any fuel feed the carburetor here because I'm looking at the sediment bowl and it's not really dropping that much. So I'm going to pop this line off here and see what happens. Well, I popped the hose off and we're getting some gasoline through it, but obviously not enough to keep the engine this big running. So I wonder what we got going on here. It's probably just clogged up again, obviously. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna blow some compressed air in this and see if it can't just kind of back flush it. It's more of a temporary fix than a permanent fix, but I've had good luck with it. And by compressed air I mean with my mouth, and yeah, that cleaned it up right away. There we go. So we'll get this guy slid back on and see if he'll start filling up the carb. Now, one thing that sucks is these Holley carbs have a window on the side so you can see if there's actually any fuel in the bowl, but unfortunately that's on the engine side, so I can't really tell if it's going in or not. So we're kind of more going off of a hope and a prayer than actually visually seeing it, but we'll just find out here. I'll prime it again and we'll get it running. Again, I just prime the accelerator pump with this and I just leave the choke shut, and that's enough to have it running. Honestly, I would like to rejet this carburetor. I got drill bits and solder and whatnot to do it. But I think we have a vacuum leak right here. And I think that's the brunt of our issue, is I really don't trust my custom core gasket here. So I do want to get this running, and then I want to spray some like brake cleaner or carb cleaner around that and see if it affects the idle. And if it does, then that gasket's definitely compromised and that needs to be redone. And yeah, there's our radiator leak. But hey, you know, better to have some water in it than none at all. And yeah, this is just a random cap I found at my at my grandpa's barn. But this thing, well, I guess you guys really don't need to see in there, but I have filled it up, and I did vacuum this area out a little bit too. And it does, once it's warm, flow water like crazy. And it's really cool because the way these engines are designed is they don't actually have water pumps. This just relies strictly on, you know, heat goes up, cold goes down. And, you know, actually seeing that in action is very impressive because that water is just gushing on up, and just cool, old technology. Now before that engine gets too hot, let's dump some coolant in her. Don't want to thermally shock her. But yeah, as you can tell, she's come a long way since, well, the last videos. Before it could barely idle. Now it can barely idle but drive. So that's pretty sick. And of course, I know this is probably going to tick a lot of folks off dumping hard water in there, but I mean, have you seen the tractor? He'll be fine. He'll live. Maybe I'll leave the top off too, so it'll smoke like a steam train. Except, you know, we're gas fired, but I think in her heart, she's coal fired. Yeah, it's crazy. These engines, I accidentally dumped a bunch of water down the carburetor, but it's fine. These engines will run on 36 quarts of cooling. Like, that is just crazy to me. That's a lot and a lot of water. Looks like she's filling up. And yeah, there's just a bunch of holes in these tubular style radiator, and I'm gonna fix them. I'm just gonna solder them on up. Not that worried about it. See the belt down there? Yeah, that belt exploded. Real sad, but for now we just kind of have that cooling effect of just, well, new water going through it. It's kind of like those old International Titans. We'll leave this off and we'll let it steam, because once it starts steaming too much, we'll know that's when to turn it off. There's that massive flywheel that gives the engine the inertia it needs. It kind of looks like a lathe chuck. That's how chonky they are. Let's give her a little rip around the yard now and test out all the gears.
parking brake for the 1020 whenever I have to park it. I accidentally ran it over. I completely forgot about it, and it's totally fine. That brass is tough. That's a little better. The water keeps splashing up and into the cart. Yeah, see how it hit a little fuel? The fuel floods it out, so no duh, but running strictly on the idle jets. So that'll need tuning, but that's okay. Now let's move this before it shoots a flame and catches the hay on fire. So yeah, it definitely likes to grind. See, I just threw it and in reverse. I have the clutch pressed in, and I guess it just wants to go, so. Oh, interesting. Alright, well now, if you cycle it though, then I don't know if that's just a throw-up bearing coming around, or what's going on there. See, now we're just rolling again. It's weird, the gear lighters don't gear light like they should, but that's whatever, I guess. We'll put it in first, second gear. Second gear is the only gear that doesn't like to grind when I shift into it. And we'll go on a little adventure around the property here and hopefully not run into a stump. Yeah, I mean, it's a good, don't make me jinx it. I was gonna say, it's a good running and driving tractor. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna have the power to pull a plow, but the fact that I can just drive it around the yard like this makes me more than happy enough. Yeah, can't really engage that on the fly. You gotta press the clutch. Going a little adventure here. So the reason this area is overgrown is I'm gonna grind a bunch of stumps down here in the fall and everything dies down a little bit, and then I'm gonna turn this into cattle pasture next spring. And it's just a pain to get in here and mow it otherwise, or you dent up your mower blades, hence why I'm waiting till fall. And I have a big pit I need to fill in there too. And before I used to be able to drive all the way around my property, but unfortunately there's a tree that fell down over there, so I can't drive around it. I just haven't gotten up to cutting up the tree yet because I got all this other stuff. And honestly, right now I should be working on my shop. I just really wanted to work on the 1020 and drive it around a little bit. Make a video for you guys as well. Man, these things are slow though. When I put this in third gear, I was like, wow, that's it. But you gotta remember, you know, this was made in 1929. They can't expect a lot from it. She's running and driving on her own power. I mean, no duh, but it's a pretty good feeling when you can take something that was destined for the scrapyard and make it run and drive. And I'm happy. Now we're getting a couple more heat cycles in this, and then we can drop the oil. And then really clean her on up. And honestly, she's been pretty loyal. This is my like throttle control for the Holly carburetor. Oh, didn't like it when I touched that. But yeah, it's pretty much just running on the idle jets. If I as much try to give it any more air or fuel, it just gets mad. So I have those needles tuned just right, but as soon as it gets to the mains and secondaries, forget it. Too much fuel or too much of a vacuum leak. So now we'll drive this back up to where we found her. We'll spray some carb cleaner. Oh, I guess we just went over a stump. We'll spray some carb cleaner at the intake manifold and at the base of that custom intake manifold I made for the carburetor, and see if we can find any actual fuel leaks or vacuum leaks. She does not like going up little hills in second gear. And we'll go from there. I do have a Weber carburetor, a 3236 that I can throw on here. That'd probably be much more appropriate, but I also just kind of want to keep rocking the Holly because I already got it on there. But we'll see what happens. I might have to remake a new custom carburetor mount. But yeah, got the 1020 going. It's a great rig. Look forward to seeing this thing a year from now, see what we'll be doing with it. There's a 504, the one that started it all, just being loyal. Let's see if we can float a gear. Oh yeah. Really starting to get handy floating gears and things. I've done it in this, do it in my truck. That thing floats gears amazingly. Well, that doesn't even have a transmission in it. Yeah, I'll get her parked on up here. Got the saws here. Kind of sketchy spraying flammable liquid that close to an exhaust manifold. I'm surprised though. Not really that much of an effect. You see, maybe if I run hard water long enough, it'll just plug up the scale holes. It's functional hard water. There we have it, guys. She runs and drives. Pretty low on power, but she'll do it. What a good rig. What a good rig. And I'm honestly surprised the sediment bowl's doing as good as it did. Wow. Speaking of sediment, look at all the sediment that fell in there. My Atlanta. I'd like to see an inline fuel filter hold that. I mean, oof to the ta. That is all sediment. I'm not even kidding you. Let's see if I can dump some of that gas out. We're dumping it right back down the tank here. And I took that screen out too. So all that sediment would have definitely gone in the carburetor if we let it. Oh, I guess some of it's more floaties, but still there's a lot of junk in there. Man. That also could be a lot of the junk that was already in the sediment bowl and the gasoline's breaking it on up. But yeah, it's just amazing what these old tractors will run on. Yummy. Alright, bowl's been cleaned out. Still a lot of junk in there, but not nearly as much as there was before. Man, that was just impressive. How much junk could be in there. I hope that doesn't leak next time, but it probably will. That's okay. That sun will find a way to photobomb us, even if it's not direct. But anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching the video. This was just a little bit of a random update on the McCormick 1020. I know it's been a while since I made a video on it, and I thought I'd mess around with it a little bit. So it's nice that I can get it running and driving just to move it around now versus, you know, letting it just sit in the yard, because, man, this thing is just a bear to move with the other tractors. But I hope you guys appreciate the video. Hope you drop a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. We'll get more stuff done at the 1020 as we go on here, but now I'm going to get back to working on the shop. I'll try and get this video uploaded as soon as I can for you guys. And yeah, y'all have a good one. Well, if oil's coming out of the oil pressure gauge, I guess that means it has oil pressure.